Welcome back to the Conversations with Cacao podcast. I welcome here today Shaunda Gabink, and she is a dear friend, a cacao facilitator, a Reiki practitioner, and just an all-around really magical being. So I'm excited to share this conversation, to flow in to the space together. And as we usually do before we even begin the conversation, we just allow ourselves to come into the present moment. So let's take a deep breath in together. Exhaling out on sound, activating our voice, activating our presence through our breath. Breathing in again. Breathing into the hips and exhaling. And just allowing that exhale to help you melt into your body. Melt into your presence, into your heart. Taking one more deep breath in. Filling up and exhaling. Melting even deeper into your body. And maybe if you feel called to just support your body with your hands. Maybe you feel your tummy or your hips, or maybe your knees or legs need some extra attention. Maybe today your shoulders or neck or heart just want that extra love. And just allowing your hands to settle in one location. And allowing your hands to really bring presence to this area. Bringing presence to where you are, what you're feeling. And allowing yourself to deepen at this moment with yourself, with your body, with your presence, the gift that you are. Taking another deep breath into your hands. Exhaling out all the way until you're completely empty. Keep on going until you think you can't go anymore. And then go a little more. Hold on the exhale. And breathe in. And finding what that simple act of completely emptying out can do. That space of just reaching the point where we think we can't go anymore. And then we push a little more and hold it. And then allow the refreshing energy, the new energy to fill us up. Allowing that new perspective to come in. Those new ideas. That love to begin to fill us up. So we're going to do that one more time as we breathe into our hands. And then exhaling all the way out on a long, steady breath until we think we can't breathe out anymore. And then we breathe out just a little bit more, holding it on the exhale. And inhaling. And allowing your body to feel soft, to feel open, receptive. And allowing your hands to float back to wherever it feels comfortable right now. Connecting in with the heart of the earth as we root our presence down to this planet that we are on, this planet that gives us a home, a place to explore our lives, our consciousness, the expression of who we are, and allowing her energy to flow up, all of the energy that creates life on earth, the systems that are natural, that are organic to our planet. This beautiful, supportive life force energy flowing up for you, to you, at this moment, opening and receiving, as this beautiful earth energy flows into our feet and into our legs, into our knees, all the way up into our hips, flowing up into our lower chakras, our lower energy centers, flowing it all the way up into our heart, into our throat, and up into our brains. As we root up, allowing the spine to elongate, our chins to lift, our shoulders to roll back, as we root up towards the heart of the sky, the heart of the moon, the heart of the sun, the heart of the cosmos, and allowing this beautiful liquid light energy to begin to flow in, activating your soul star chakra, which is about a foot above your head in space, this energy center that begins to flow this light energy into your crown, flowing into your brain, into your eyes, your ears, that you may see and hear clearly, bringing it into your mouth, your throat, your shoulders, flowing down your arms and hands, and allowing this beautiful light energy, this light of who you truly are, the worthiness to be you, the love of who you are, the gentleness and playfulness, and maybe there's a little bit of childlike remembrance of this innocence, the freedom that comes with simply being, and flowing this energy all the way down through the throat, clearing and cleansing, spiraling and spinning, dancing and playing, all the way into the heart, opening up the heart spaces, the chambers where we keep things locked away, allowing them to come out and be loved, be seen, flowing this energy down into our solar plexus, cleansing and clearing, that we may see ourselves clearly and be ourselves clearly, flowing this energy through the navel, clearing any connections to our ancestors that may not be serving us in the highest way, and allowing our connection to our past, our present, and our future to be one of love. Our connection to our ancestors as one that is empowered, the past ancestors and the future ancestors. And then flowing this energy all the way into the lower two chakra energy point centers, cleansing and clearing all the way down through the hips, down through the legs, into the knees, down into your ankles and your feet. And just for a few moments, letting yourself notice what you notice. Feel what you feel. And maybe it's only for a few moments to be who you are, just to simply be. Opening up the intention for this beautiful conversation and allowing ourselves to see everyone on the call, maybe just sensing them, feeling them, hearing them, knowing them, and seeing them for who they are, and their beauty, and their light, and their love. And from our beingness, from our center, beaming our love to all of the current listeners, and receiving from the current listeners, and beaming our love to our past listeners, and allowing the love from the past listeners to beam to us as they see us, in love, as love, beaming this welcoming energy to our future listeners, and feeling and sensing this beautiful web of light that's being created through our intention alone, simple and gentle. And then from all of our listeners, past, present, and future, beaming our love to our guest today, Shaunda, welcoming her into the space, her presence, her uniqueness, her voice, and beaming our love to Mama Cacao. And today we have the beautiful honor of allowing Shaunda to share a blessing of cacao with us in her unique way.
Thank you, Cacao, for being in our cups today. And thank you to all the people that make it possible. Thank you to the guardians of the lands of Cacao and to all the guardians of the lands that we walk on. Thank you to those who have been protecting ceremony and the wisdom of how to work with sacred plant medicine, and to those who are sharing it with the world today. Thank you. Because of you, so many people can be touched by Mama Cacao around the globe. Thank you to the heart of the sky for breath, change, and the power of our voices. Thank you to the heart of the earth for grounding, structure, and a safe place to face our shadows. And thank you to the heart of the water for the ebb and flow and all the possibilities of creation. Thank you to the heart of the fire for transformation and the courage that lies within. And thank you to the seen and to the unseen realms for your love, guidance, nourishment, and healing. And thank you to our souls for being here, and for our bodies for being temples to the souls and one of our greatest teachers. Thank you, Cacao, for choosing to work with each and every one of us, for gently opening up our hearts and cultivating the courage to share them with the world, for deepening the relationship with our intuition so that we can listen to the whispers of our souls and begin to speak and act from that space, becoming who we're meant to be. Thank you, Cacao, for all your nourishment and your love. If you have an intention, I invite you to blow it into your cup and take your first sip.
Wow, it was beautiful to receive your medicine. Thank you for that blessing.
Thank you very much.
And I wonder if you have an intention for this call or for our listeners here today.
Well, my intention was to be joyful and playful and just open-hearted and just not take things so seriously.
Yes, amplifying that playful energy into our call. And for me, there seems to be an intention around voice, and there seems to be this energy around, really hearing our voice, really being present in who we are. So amplifying that whatever comes through is to our highest good, that it unfolds in a way that is with ease and joy, and that Mama Cacao work through us, that all of the energies that are supporting us support us in these beautiful activations that are needed with play and joy and grace. So thank you so much, Shaunda, for taking the time to connect today in this way. We usually connect in circle. Shaunda is one of the beautiful, founding members of the Cacao Circle. She's a dedicated, beautiful soul that shows up and shares her heart. And it has been really, really, really beautiful to see you grow and shift and change over these past years that we've been together, and to get to know you in this space. I've never met you in person, but I see you once to twice a week, and we have these really beautiful, deep and intimate connections, and especially through this medicine of cacao that just opens it up to a next level. But yeah, it's fun. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this conversation today.
Yes, me too. I'm excited, a little nervous. I always get a little nervous just being recorded. So that's why I wanted to bring in joyfulness and play. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with being recorded. And just having conversations with Cacao. I know I just said your handle there, but it really just helps you relax and just open up.
If you would share a little bit about yourself for our listeners to get to know you a little bit more. We had a fun little tidbit before the call as I was asking you how you actually pronounce your last name. So it's Gebbink.
Right. Yes. I pronounce it Gebbink. Everyone else in my family pronounces it Gebbink. But my grandparents, they came to Canada from Holland right after World War II. and it used to be spelled Gebbink, and my grandpa dropped the C because he figured no one was going to pronounce it, or it would just be easier just to have the C gone. And so I asked him, I was like, so how do we actually pronounce our name? And he says, you'll never get it. And so I don't really know how it's actually pronounced. So I do think it has that throaty sound, like a Gebbink,
Yeah.
something like that in there. But
Oh, the ancestral connection is really interesting there, but it's also like you get to choose from this
yeah,
point. You're like, you know what? I can claim how I say my name.
yes, that's very true.
And how did you start to come working with Cacao? What actually brought?
Well,
I don't think I know this story. How did
no, I
Cacao
don't think
find you?
we've ever talked on this. It was, I think, the end of 2019. I found Carol Arvello online and fell in love with her artwork. And one of the tools that she uses is Cacao to drop into her heart space to create the artwork. And I love that idea so much. And it wasn't until the fall of 2020 that I decided to start. My body needed to be ready, and so did I. But I was just so excited to finally be able to like have Cacao. And so my first time, I had it by myself to make sure I could digest it before I had an online ceremony. And I found it just like it cleared all my thoughts. I just wrote down the things that were bugging me, all the solutions to it, and I just like went to sleep. It was like such a relaxing sensation. And the first ceremony I was in was with Ksenia Brief, and I took her conscious social media course. And after being in ceremony with her and all those people, something just shifted in me that I was just completely open. I could understand my thoughts and emotions a lot more. And it's just so hard to explain because it's so subtle, but it's such a big shift inside you. So it's almost like I just felt like I knew this medicine was really going to help me. And I've been having Cacao ever since.
That's really beautiful. If you would like to elaborate a little bit more on, I know you said it was hard to get there,
Right.
but I'm curious to like try and articulate that because I know I'm sure there are a lot of listeners that have had that same experience where it was like, what was like this before? And it's really gentle, but the transformation happens at this really subtle yet powerful level. And I think your expression towards it would be really interesting to hear.
Yeah, well, I think, and it still helps me in this way because it takes a while to cultivate the relationship with your heart, but it really just got me out of my own head. Got me out of like the shoulds, the needs, like I need to do this and this and this, I should be doing this and this and this, and then actually really listening to what I actually really want and what my intuition was like, how my intuition guides me, because I was very disconnected from that before. Like I would get like, I guess now when I know my intuition, I really feel it in my body. If something's a no, I really feel myself like crunch up. If something's a yes, I really feel myself open. And then that can be very um, quiet and very almost unnoticeable when you have a big decision and you're kind of activated and kind of worried about everything. And so practicing that when you're calmer, I can do that now when I have like a bigger decision. And my first, the first way I really started working with it is I mentioned it was Carol Alvello's art course. And so I started creating a lot of artwork. And at the time, I decided I had this idea that I wanted to fulfill my childhood dream of becoming a tattoo artist, which I can get into the end of that story later. So I would sit with Cacao, have a meditation, and be like, what should I draw today? And like the images and stuff would kind of come up instead of being like, oh, I need to look at the internet. What are everybody else doing? I need to copy this person, and try to self compare instead of just like actually going inward, thinking about what I wanted to draw. And it almost felt like muses would be coming to me and I'd have like all these different ideas, and I would sit down with Cacao and I would just get the idea and I would just go through my process and just do the picture and not really worry about the end result or having the emotional attachments to it. That came a bit later. So it was more of like allowing creativity to flow instead of picking and choosing what it should be.
That is, I feel like a theme in most of the people that I have spoken to and, relate to and in circles and within my own personal journey is that space of that self-empowerment, right? Like seeing, what do I have to say? No, no, no. Don't listen to the other voices. What's going on in here? And then opening up, being receptive enough to and trusting enough to receive and see, oh wait, I can do this little by little, step by step. And I love that you started that with like, instead of looking at the internet for like different tattoo ideas, like what do I want to draw today? And beginning that conversation with Cacao.
Yes.
And yourself. Yeah. And how did that unfold now? So from the beginning part of your journey where you were stepping into that area, has it changed at all over the years that you've been working with Cacao?
I find it's changed in the way that my idea of creativity was actually quite narrow. I really had it to just sculpture or painting and drawing, like the traditional fine arts, I guess. And now when I look at it, I was like, no, creativity is really absolutely everything. It's choosing what plants you want to have in your house, if you want plants even, where you want to live, the people you want to have in your life, the direction you want to go. All of that is part of the creation and creativity process. So you're really like an artist of life in a way. So now with that relationship of my intuition with what I wanted to create artistically, I can now do that with what I want to create in my life.
An artist of life. Let me just pause on that one for a second.
Yeah, that's from Lavender. It's not mine, but that's really artist of life is good.
It's so beautiful and really allowing that space to begin to be the artist in your life, right? To allow that play and allow that freedom and the artistic expression that lives within all of us. I think I was thinking about this the other day. I'm going to have to fact check this, but maybe Is it like that when somebody has a stroke? I don't even know why I was thinking about this. I was driving somewhere yesterday and I think I was like really in my linear mind, like the really gotta get this done, gotta get that done. And then I had that remembrance that when you have a stroke, if you have a stroke in like the right hemisphere of your brain, basically it's like you can't survive that. But if you have a stroke and it hits the left hemisphere, you're actually more likely to survive and recover. I think I'm gonna have to fact check this and put the
That's
sources
interesting. I did not
Yeah.
know that.
All right. Well, bear with me. I'll make this really crazy cool metaphor and then we'll fact check and see if it's true. But for my understanding of that and what I remembered and like stored in my brain was that we can't live without the artistic part. We can only the linear, like the rational part can only exist if it has that creative balance to express through. There was a really great book from this woman who I guess it was like her experience of having a stroke. I think it's called Stroke of Inspiration, and her what happened while she was having the stroke and her life after, which was really interesting. Don't know why that's coming through right now, but I thought I'd share it. And also the fact that I just have to acknowledge today, as we're recording this session, it is 6 spots in the Mayan Shulkich calendar. And as we first sat down and you, Shaunda, were invited to this podcast, we had that conversation. As you mentioned today, I didn't even realize that it was Hunbats. And I think the conversation of creativity is only makes sense.
Yeah, that's very true.
And if you'd like to share what's in your cup too, I guess I think that
Sure, yeah.
really brings the point back home.
Yes, I have. I'm drinking cacao from Legacy Cacao, which is a very beautiful brand. And part of the process of that cacao being made, it gets infused with the Noalis. I don't know exactly the process. I have a feeling it's like a guarded kind of tradition, but anyway, my bats is infused into the cacao that I am drinking today. And I was
Yeah.
also drinking this cacao on one bat because it was bats. I was like, I have to drink it on bats days.
Yeah. And for those who are new or maybe not familiar with the Mayan Chalkich calendar, which is the lunar calendar of the Mayans, a sacred calendar that really illuminates the 20 energies of creation. I think it's the 10 cosmic energies and the 10 earthly energies that weave together to create the energies and help us really relate. For me, it's like, it helps me understand being human better. It just makes my life easier and how I relate to the days, because there's sometimes the energies are so strong and then I'll check the calendar, I'll feel into it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is just, let's go with the flowing energy that are here in the universe to support us. And the energy of bots is represented by the monkey, which is the playful, the one who is also the weaver, so the one that's creating the reality, the artist, the poet, the one who sings and dances. And in most of I think in the Dresden codexes, if you look, the representation of the monkey is holding the cacao pod, that it was thought that cacao is actually the expression of bots, like the creative flowing life force that is coming through, and that the depiction of these images were actually misunderstood for so many years because they thought it meant something else. I think just relating to the monkey, but not knowing the relationship to the Mayan cosmology, which gave it even more depth. So it's like, if you want to access the celebration, if you want to access that, you drink cacao to bring in the celebration, to bring in the creativity, to bring in the joy, and to bring in the life. I was always like, I admire the people in my life. I had so many family members that could just like remember quotes like that, and they're just like had movie scenes memorized. And my mom always joked that she was kind of like a gist person. She's like, I got the gist of it. Like, I know, like, yeah, I got the gist. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of inherited the gisty part of life. Yes. But I will make sure that the information is in the descriptions.
Yes, right. Yeah, I'm trying to recall that as well, and I think I'm a gist person as well. Got the gist of it, but I think we'll have to fact test this too. But I think they thought that monkeys possibly like brought the cacao pods
Mm-hmm.
as well, which can't really be proved or disproved, and that might be a thing too.
You mean from the origin story, like of the
Yeah,
animals
like
that came to
how I
Earth?
guess I feel like I should really listen to all that history before I really say this. But the idea that like a lot of the cacao ceremonies and all that tradition comes from Mesoamerica, but cacao actually originates in the Amazon, so it was carried there somehow. And so a lot of it they think it's through trade and things like that as well. But another theory was that the monkeys actually brought the seeds and they ended up being planted there. And I think that kind of comes from the images that they saw with monkeys with cacao, but that was without understanding the Mayan cosmovision. And I think bats is like the the first one. I'm saying first in like quotations, but I do think that's where like if they have a beginning in that circle, bats is usually the first one because it is creation of everything.
Yeah. I know depending on the lineage, one lineage holds Emosh as the creator, the first energy, and then another lineage they hold Bats as the origin
Oh right.
energy of that. Yeah. Not an expert. I have studied a lot on the Mayan cosmology with various teachers, but just disclosure, we are not experts. We are but mere students upon the path that love this sacred wisdom and hold it with reverence. And I think just the support in the everyday life is really something that's beneficial. But again, like, check your sources, make sure that you're finding information that is really coming from a place that is connected to the sacred elders.
Okay. Well, I'll just say like if people do want to look it up, Mark Elmy and the Four Pillars, he is quite good. He's actually in a key and really lives down there and has studied the Mayan cosmology for a long time, and he shares it on YouTube, and you can sign up for an email list. So that's where I get most of my information. I trust that. And also too, like I know we're talking about this because we're mere students, but I feel like such a student, I feel like I can't teach it to people. especially since it's such important. Cosmovision is very sacred. It survived colonization and so much. Like, I feel like I really need to understand it a bit deeper to start actually really sharing it with other people in a way where I feel like I'm teaching. Like, so I could be like, okay, here's same thing, that word gist. Here's the gist of it. But if you really want to understand and like make sure you're getting it, go to Mark Elmy at the Four Pillars. And there's probably other people too, but he's the one that I know that I like his content.
Yeah, and there are so many teachers out there that really are, are connected to this. The website that I really also love to use, it's called oxomedia.net, and I think it's really, really fascinating, beautiful information. And then there are also elders that teach it directly. So back to creativity, back to your creativity.
All
How
right.
Cacao supported you along your journey?
All right. Well, it's been um I'll continue with the tattoo apprenticeship portfolio building story because it really ties into the intuition that I was building at the end. So I kept doing more and more artwork with the same kind of process. I would drink cacao, sit with it, have a meditation. Usually an image would come to me. If it didn't, it would usually come to me while I was walking. And if I was thinking about an image or something like that, like I was like, should I be doing this? And like a ladybug would fall on me, or a bird would fly by, or like something like in nature would kind of give me this feeling of yes. And so then I would start creating that picture. And it was it was a very fun process. Once I had the tattoo portfolio completed, I went to a tattoo convention. I think it was 2021. It was when things were just kind of started opening up, but everybody still had to wear masks and stuff like that. And so I went and talked to a couple people about getting my portfolio looked at, and a lot of them were very receptive and quite nice. And I did get two people to want to look at my portfolio, and one other person said, you should take this course about bloodborne pathogens. It's online. It's not that expensive. You get a certificate. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I took that course online, and I was trying to set up meetings with these two tattoo artists to get them to look at my portfolio, and it was not lining up at all. Like, we would have a date, and then like I would get sick, or they would have like a family crisis or something like that. Like, it was like 2 months of like things just not clicking at all. And during that time, then I was taking that course, and you learn about all the different blood pathogens and things like that. And it did mention that if you have an autoimmune disease, you're more susceptible to actually getting infected. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this because I do have an autoimmune disease. And then right after that, all the content that I was on my phone, that I had taken pictures of all my artwork and videos and stuff that I was going to post, erased. No reason. My phone just like all my photos were just gone.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so those are like huge messages. The bloodborne one's like a bit more logical from like the mind realm, but the other one's like not being able to get the schedules working and losing all that content off my phone. I was like, okay, this is a big like intuition screaming there. The universe is screaming out there for me to actually stop this path. And like, if I wasn't working with cacao and really listening to my intuition, I would have ignored all those signs and probably kept going.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
And what was your next step after that point? So like what did you move through, and how did
uh,
Cacao support you in
it
that
was
time?
tough after because it was a childhood dream I had since I was like 16, 17 that I had to really let go of.
Hmm.
And so a lot of grief right after that of really letting that go. But also celebrating what I had actually accomplished, and knowing that if I didn't have tried and got to that point, I would have just been like, oh, what happened if I tried? I would have regretted not doing it. So those are kind of the lessons in there. And then I wanted to explore other types of mediums. So I ended up getting a nice manual camera which was also like a childhood dream of mine. So yeah. So, another thing that Cacao does is like it almost like taps you into your inner child and wants you to fulfill those dreams that you had when you were a kid. And so also buying that camera was one of those things as well, which I learned how to use and
Cool.
started taking some pictures that way. So that was interesting to learn a different type of medium and dive into photo editing and stuff like that. But I was still moving through a lot of grief. I didn't really want to create for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, wow, there's so many lessons in this story. So I didn't want to create for a while, but I was still pushing myself to do it. And now I understand our creativity goes in cycles like the seasons. You got to let it rest once in a while, like do that incubation and that reflection time and not worry about producing all the time. I think that we just have a producing culture, like always have to keep going, keep doing, so on and so forth. And so that was a lot of deconditioning about around that. Like, no, I can stop creating for a little bit. And that's when it started. That's when it really started having my idea of creativity open up more to just artwork. Like, what type of friendships do I really want in my life? What type of experiences would I like? So on and so forth, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned and brought in that space of the fallow, the space of the winter within us and within our creation. And like in nature, everything isn't always in full bloom, but everything is in constant growth. And one of the fundamental paradigm shifts that I had was working with this energy healer who she said, you know, if you feel stuck or there's like stuck energy, just recognizing that energy is constantly in motion. Like you are constantly vibrating. Everything is constantly vibrating, and there's like change all the time. So if there's that fear of change, the recognition that change is the only thing that is consistent and constant. And applying that to the creativity, for me, also recognizing like that we're constantly creating a reality in every second. Like we're reforming and reconstructing reality in every millisecond, just recreating, creating. Like the energy is there with us. When the trees stop producing leaves and stop producing blooms and blossoms, they're still doing stuff, you know. It's just not at the pace, the rapid pace in which we're used to. But it's like when we stop being creative, quote unquote, there's a recognition that, but we're still digesting food. Our heart is still beating. We're still going through our day-to-day life, and that's expending also a lot of energy. So that maybe our energy isn't towards producing outward fruit. Maybe it's actually restoring our roots, restoring, you know, the foundations within our family.
Spoken.
And so then you found yourself taking that time from, as opposed to that outward expression, taking the inward,
Yeah.
lensing towards what needed to be tended to.
Yeah, I think I thought I was doing that, but really I was still pushing myself. I hadn't quite learned that lesson yet, but I kind of knew I should be. But instead of like, so I took a break from creating paintings and stuff, but then I just dived right into photography a bit. That's not really resting. That's like kind of changing paths and still trying to run on that production treadmill in a way. But like I really needed it at that time as well. Because like in 2021 too, there's a lot of grief. I lost both my grandparents that year as well. So and so that was part of it. My grief was, I always kind of put my emotions and stuff into what I'm creating. So I needed to focus on something. So I was focusing on photography, but not really sitting there and listening to my feelings and letting myself rest and process what happened. It was almost like a distraction in a way. But it does serve its purpose. But after I've gone through that, I was like, oh, I just really needed to rest and sit with my feelings, which I definitely do now. And now I still haven't quite learned that lesson. And so I was really diving into photography, drawing a little bit, and then so we'll bring myself to like 2022 August, I ended up getting COVID. And then by October, COVID, I'll just say it kind of quickly for everybody. I got convergence insufficiency, which is a reaction from that's very similar to people with severe traumatic brain injury. So I couldn't process visual information properly, and my eye muscles weren't moving properly. So if I wanted to read or draw or do anything, I was in a lot of physical pain, and it was very distressing as well. So I completely lost everything then. Like the universe like forced me into like not being able to create in the way that I used to. And that's really where all the ideas of relationship to creativity and creation is more than just artwork really started coming, because it was completely taken away. And one thing I would like to mention about that process was also a lot of grief. You have to grieve something that you've lost, but since I couldn't do it, it forced me to really look at what I was doing and what my relationship was to creativity, and especially with my painting and my artwork. And I realized it was actually a very unhealthy relationship. Whatever I was producing, I had such strong emotional attachments to the product. So I would self compare myself a lot on social media and just cut myself down. I would feel like no matter what I created, I could always do better. Nothing was ever good enough. And like, what else was there? My self worth was attached to what I had created and produced, which is really incredibly limiting in a way when you're trying to create freely and playfully. And so now that I was like able to look at that, I was like, okay, when I start creating again, I'm not doing that to myself. My self worth's not going to be attached to it. There's going to be no emotional attachment to what it does. I find a lot of, at least for me, if I would post on social media, I felt like it should get like a certain number of likes or comments, or it should have like a bigger reach. And if it didn't get that, then the artwork wasn't that good. But it's really, the algorithm is completely against you and has nothing to do with like how good you've created that, or how, or like how much you love the process of doing it, how much joy it gave you. Like those numbers don't reflect that at all. And also I was so attached to making a career out of it. And I think a lot of creativity or creative aspects are attached to like, if I'm not financially successful in this thing, then I'm not a successful artist. And I really had to break that, decondition myself with that too. And so those are huge lessons I had and I wouldn't have had that if I those lessons if I didn't completely lose my ability to process visual information. And so now I'm starting to bring creation in again. I'm not drawing so much. I might do that a bit, but I found I just didn't feel satisfied when I draw a picture. And that's kind of how I look at creativity now. Like, did I enjoy the process? Did I feel joyful with like what I created? Did it make me happy? So like if drawing and painting feels like a drag and doesn't really kind of make me happy, then that's not really what I feel like I want to create anymore. And so now I've been experimenting with sewing, with writing. I still like photography, even just like movement or dance, something I'd like to try doing a bit too. And it's really, creation is just there to really enrich your life and enrich yourself as a person. And it doesn't have to be attached with how it's received or if you get any money from it.
That's quite the journey you've been on, and relating to the space of just needing to unlearn. You're being forced into the unlearning of what it's like your most dominant reflex is sight, being able to process visual information, and then navigate the way of navigating that. Now it's like flipping your world completely upside down. The one comparison, and it's not really a comparison at all, it's just a snippet of what I've experienced that I could possibly imagine that it would be similar to, is this profound experience I had in the mist. And it was this deep, deep, deep fog where I couldn't even see like my hand in front of my face. And just sitting there and recognizing, okay, I can't rely on my eyes at all. And then what happens in that space it just everything awakens all around, where it's like, oh, well, I really need to hear the amount that I can hear. There's so much more depth within my hearing, and my sensing, my feeling would awaken and awakened in that. And just recognizing that there's so much more going on beyond the visual stimuli that's always there. And it's so dominating. A random thing, I got these really cool blindfolds recently as a gift, that they're really like dark blackout blindfolds, and I use them for meditation. And the other day, I just, for fun, spontaneously, I was like, my daughter loves these smoothies. It's like banana, peanut butter, and chocolate smoothies. So I was like, I'm just going to make this smoothie with these blindfolds. Like, I'm going to do it. Let's see if I can do it. So it was an interesting test, exploration, to just perform that completely blindfolded, where there's no light coming in, and just the empathy or the sympathy for, wow, okay, I'm in choice right now. Like, I have the choice to put these blindfolds on and take them off and experience what that's like. But then, and as I was moving through that process, like playing with the gravitas of like, some people don't have this choice. Some people, this is what they're faced with. And then as I, the weird things we do as humans and the fantasies that we go into, as I'm making the smoothie, just fantasizing and thinking about, if this were my reality, like, how would I be facing and coming up against this challenge? I'm like, I wouldn't probably be as joyful as I am right now, trying to navigate the kitchen, being like, I think this is the right cabinet. Like, I would be pissed off. I would be mad and angry, and there'd be a lot of grief and frustration and probably some despair. And just recognizing the context of like moving through the same movements, but the perspective that I can hold within this moment is wildly different. So, did you find yourself moving through as you were going, and when dealing with long COVID, at that space where the visual information isn't coming in like it used to, your body isn't working the way it used to, and what's moving through you at that time?
There's a lot of things. It's funny that you mentioned like being blind, because I thought about that a lot. Because like I could still see, but it was just like it was overstimulation. So I was like receiving too much information, so it was like painful. And then I was like, I was like, what do blind people do to entertain themselves? Is what really one of the questions I had. And like, thank goodness there's audiobooks and podcasts and stuff like that, because years ago that didn't exist. So like you're just kind of sitting there in your own head a lot. I really kind of dived into meditation because I had like a lot of time to kind of figure out how to do it. I'm definitely not an expert in that, and that took a long time. Uh yeah, I can't quite. How do I pinpoint what I was moving through? Like I know grief's come up a lot, but grief was a really big one, and I was very angry, and I didn't understand why. And I think the anger came from being sensory overload was part of it, but also part of it was just that's part of the cycle of grief. And so I wasn't really allowing myself to face my anger. I was just being angry. I was like, I shouldn't be so mad. I shouldn't be so angry. This is weird. And I push it away instead of actually sitting with it and being like, why am I so fucking mad? Oh, sorry. I guess why am I so mad? And then just allowing myself to feel my feelings and actually really sit with them, which is hard. And that took me a long time to do without feeling too overwhelmed. But I found Pima Chodron very useful in that. And just
What was
really,
that?
Pima Chodron, she is a Buddhist monk. I think she was born in America, and I think she's retired now, but she ran a Buddhist monastery in Nova Scotia for quite some time. But she has plenty of audiobooks and regular books to read too. And so a lot of it was just allowing you to sit there and just observe and not be attached to the thoughts and the feelings and let them kind of swirl around you, and just kind of see where their origins were, and like let yourself feel them a bit. And then once you kind of do that, they're not so loud, because your emotions and your thoughts, they're all messengers too. to help you navigate what you're going through. And if you're, and it's hard because like they're so uncomfortable. Of course, we want to ignore them and numb them out and push them away. But when you can get to a space where you can sit with them and listen to what they're telling you, then they'll usually soften a little bit.
And what did you find? What did you find there for you? Like, how was that? How did your healing journey unfold after you began detaching from, identifying as anger or angry, and beginning to soften your attachment to these kind of intense emotions?
Um, it helped me rest my brain a little bit. I still have to work at it constantly, but if you're trying to lie down and give your brain a break and you're incredibly angry and activated, there's a lot of neurons and hormones and molecules just floating around your brain to make that happen. So you're not really resting as well as you could. And so for me, I guess before it was almost like I was in a boat in the ocean, and the oceans were all my emotions, and it was very turbulent, and I was getting tossed around in this boat and just holding on for dear life. And through meditation practices and through the observation, it's almost like I'm in a drone above the boat and I can see how the emotions are moving the boat around without being tossed so violently. And so it's kind of like it makes the experience a lot less intense. And it's not a perfect practice. Like, of course, you're going to feel those emotions and be tossed around in the boat, but you can kind of stop and be like, okay, sit back a bit and just like observe kind of what's going on, or just like observe like what are your thoughts doing? Are they really racing? Are they angry thoughts? Are they unhelpful thoughts? And then, or is there a thought that keeps coming in that you really need to kind of look at and analyze? And you just kind of go from there and just have as much compassion for and patience with yourself as you can.
And where are you in your healing journey right now?
Uh, Pretty good. I feel like I've made the most really meaningful recovery in the past couple months. I found a good physiotherapist to help me figure out. I was trying to pace myself and not do too much stuff, but it turns out I was still doing way too much stuff. So I had to slow down. And he came up with this really cool point system. I don't know what the name is, but I'll explain it because it might be useful for other people. So basically, for about a week or two, I would write down the activities I was doing, how long they took me to do until I got symptoms. And so you would say on a scale from 0 to 10, how difficult it was for you. And then say from 0 to 10, how bad your symptoms actually got. So, for example, say 10 minutes of computer work for me was 2 difficulty and number 2 for symptoms. So then you add those two numbers up, which gives you 4, and you divide that total by 4, which gives you 1. So 1 is your energy point. And depending, like some people that to get to that point might be like 8 or 10 hours of computer work. So you can do that. That's 1 point for you. But for me, those 1 points are pretty small. And looking at the days where I would feel really bad and then I would crash the next day, then I could calculate how many points it took for me to get over. So my point limit was 10. So now you can look at all the activities you have to do, add up your points to see if you're going to go over or not. And so that really helped me, but it was just intense because I had to cut out so much stuff. But I've been there for about 8 weeks. And so now that my symptoms have calmed down, I can start challenging my brain and building it up as long as my symptoms don't get too bad. So it's called the boom and bust cycle. You're pushing your brain way too hard so it can't heal because it's just trying to function. So you got to let it calm down a bit so that it can have time to heal. And then once it has room to heal, you can start challenging it and building all those neurons again. So I'm in the building of neurons stage, which is exciting. So that's been pretty fun.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And thank you for explaining that system as well. It seems like it would be beneficial for anybody, even if you're not dealing with challenging
Hmm.
symptoms. I feel like me on the computer. That's like, yeah, it, 3 points right there for like an hour of being on the computer.
Yeah. And what I like about the point system is so individualized to each person that's doing it.
Yeah.
And then you can figure out, like, oh, computer work's not bad for me, but socialization, holy crap, that takes a lot of energy. And so then you can kind of manage your day that way
Yeah.
and
And
your
maybe
week.
it's
And
socializing with certain people. Maybe it's not just socializing.
yeah,
Maybe it's certain environments or people that are also activating that.
yeah, that's true. And so, yeah, so that's what I'm doing now. I guess I'm going to tie this back into creativity too. So now that I'm feeling better and I can start challenging myself, now I just want to be like intentional and playful with whatever I'm doing. And that feels really good too.
Yeah. And what role or what rituals do you create around cacao? What does cacao look like in your life, in your relationship to cacao?
I usually have it in the morning after I've had breakfast, and I'll say that blessing that I said. Sometimes I'll sing an ikaro if I feel like I need to call in more stuff. um, and then I'll just sit there, and sometimes I'll just draw a card. I'll just think about what I want to do that day. I'll usually reflect on the Mayan energy of the day and decide how to work with it or if I need to. And so that's what it's looked like a lot the past couple years. And lately, the past couple weeks, I've actually been doing that same process of sitting down, having cacao, having that intention, and creating. So I've actually started writing to see where that goes. Because part of me actually does want to share this COVID experience with other people. And it's not just with people who are dealing with long COVID. It could be anything, like you have a car crash, your life's flipped upside down, like any type of event. Like it could be medical or it could be a life event that's like completely changed your life. And I just feel like I've learned so much. And I also wish I had something like this too to listen to when I was going through it. So I have that idea in my head of like, oh, I should write a book, but I don't know if I'll actually get to that or not. And that's also part of like having that attachment, the attachment. Like, I'm just going to write for fun. I've never really written well. I've never taken any writing classes. Is it going to be good? I don't care, but I'm enjoying it. And that's all that it is. And even if it never gets to that point where it's finished to share with other people, that's fine. Or if I do decide to share it with like through a podcast or an email list or something and nobody reads it, that's totally fine too. And that feels very, very, very liberating to feel that way in this type of creative process. So specifically, I'm working with Cacao right now to kind of write, and I'm really just journaling at the moment, but that feels really good too because I haven't been able to journal for a long time. So it's really nice to bring these things in intentionally, and it doesn't always have to be with creative stuff. It's like, where do I want to live? I really want to have that intention in there as well. Like, when I do end up going back to work, how do I want to approach it? And really sorry, I stutter every now and once and again. I used to be really bad when I was a kid. And okay, this is a random thing, but that's another way of having compassion too. Is like I start stuttering. Don't get mad and frustrate yourself. Just take a moment, think of another word, but sitting with it. There, now I've gotten it. Now that I've calmed myself down.
Thank you for sharing those rituals. And that's amazing too that you're getting to the point where you can begin to and partake in these activities and journaling, the things that you really loved and helped you before. But now it's like a new relationship, right? And as you were saying, coming back to working, it's not like you're going to go back into the same job being the same person. You've gone through this whole journey and now it's a point of choice. Like, how am I going to choose to show up? Who am I being when I enter the space? And really having that conscious relationship to where you are, or where we are, and how we're showing up and how we're stepping into our life. What are we actively creating and participating in? And I'm curious too if there was a pivotal point along your healing journey that you stepped into some more power, or like where you really claimed your healing journey. Is there a point where that that there was a pivot, like I kind of see it like there has to be a point where it's like decline, decline, decline. And then when things start to get better. And if there was something around that time that really helped you turn your healing direction in the other way.
Yeah, well, I guess with healing from any type of chronic illness or intense injury, usually the healing isn't linear. And when I finally kind of understood that, I was like, no, I'm going to get better and feel worse, and there's going to be good and bad days, and not to really worry about it so much. But it was earlier this year, I felt like I had to have what I wanted to create once I was better completely figured out. So it was almost like I was calling in recovery and healing and being like, nope, I don't know what I want to do when I'm done. I don't want to heal yet. Like subconsciously kind of doing that. So I was asking for healing and not to heal at the same time. So I really became very stagnant. And part of it was too, is like, how do I go back to work after this experience? I'm not the same. I'm just not the same. And I was like, should I go back to this job? Should I find a different career? Do I go back to school? Like, how am I going to go back to school right now? Like, what am I doing to myself? And just like, I was putting so much pressure on the life I felt like I should create intentionally and figuring out that I had to have it all lined up in a row, that I felt like I can't heal until I figure this out. And then once I kind of let that go, I was like, no, actually, I do miss my job. It's okay if I go back for a bit. Maybe I'll still really like it. And if I don't, then I'll change then. And if I'm not creating the certain medium in a certain way, that's okay. Like, it's going to change. Like, and one thing made me think about it too is like, even if I didn't get sick and go through this, 2 years is a long time. You would completely change in 2 years anyway, and might shift and do all these different things. So I just relieve so much pressure off myself to be a certain way once I was better. And so once I released that, then I was like, yeah, I really do want to recover, and I'll figure it out as I go. Going back to that intuition thing of just like taking a step at a time and not really, you kind of know where you're going, and it might not make sense, but you don't have to have all the answers. Once I really sat with that and really started observing what was going on with me and how I was feeling, then I was like, okay, I need to call in. I think I need this and this and this and this. And one other shift that happened right around that time is in Alberta, they had long COVID clinics, and it was about 6 to 9 month wait to get in. But the Alberta healthcare system is going through a restructure. So when my turn came up in February earlier this year, they stopped in taking patients because they didn't know if they were still going to exist. And then by August, they shut down. And so losing that was like my safety net. If I can't figure this out, at least I got the long COVID clinic to go to. And then once that was gone, I was like, no, I really got to figure this out myself and really listen to my intuition and what I kind of need.
And for those listeners that might also be dealing with long COVID, what were some of the solutions that you found for you along the journey? And because you said like this, and this, and I'm like, well, what is this, and this? Like, what
Yeah.
are the
Yeah,
things
it's
you're
so
doing?
different for everybody. I started listening to the long COVID podcast, and take all that stuff with like a grain of salt, but it's usually listening to other people's stories and what they went through and what helped them help me figure out what I could do for myself. Like one was, I learned that a lot of autonomic symptoms stop functioning. Like, for example, people get POTS, which I do not have. But POTS is when you stand up, your body has to work against gravity. So all your muscles and like veins and stuff, they readjust all your blood pressure so you feel normal. That system is gone. That system no longer functions in these people. So they get up and they're very dizzy. They might faint, get headaches, stuff like that. But it's not just that system. Sometimes it's your nervous system. Like, so you'll get into survival mode and then you can calm down after. I always get them mixed up, but like the sympathetic nervous system, I think, kicks you in, and the parasympathetic brings you back down. That parasympathetic nervous system no longer functions automatically. And once I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's a thing. I think that's what I'm going through. And so I started going to acupuncture to get that calmed down. And it's helped a lot. in that aspect. Also, I was getting more and more tired around July, and I was like, what's going on with me? Like, I feel worse. And I found out that I was accidentally giving myself my cat's hyperthyroidism medication and giving myself hypothyroidism. And so also too, when you're dealing with something this long, it's easy to blame the thing you've been dealing with for a long time. It could be something else that's complicating it. So look outside of whatever you're kind of going through. There might be something else that's there. When I first got COVID, I did go to vision therapy, which is physiotherapy for your eyes, but they only focus on the visual system. So I didn't get treatment for the cognitive dysfunction I was having or the hypersensitivity of sound or my vestibular system. Because it's really easy to blame all that stuff happening on vision because vision's so prominent. So once the vision was solved, I was like, there's more going on here. I got to figure out what I need. So a lot of it is like listening, being aware of the symptoms that you have, and then kind of finding things that treat those symptoms. And I think that's kind of like, that's the best way it's worked for me. It's kind of a slow process. So it would have been nice to talk to like a long COVID clinic or a person that is really an expert in long COVID. But it's just, I don't think those people really exist yet because it's such a new condition.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those tools, and I hope they're helpful and useful for some of our listeners as well. I'm curious too, like, what was your relationship to stress before Cacao and before you contracted long COVID?
That's something I recently reflected on because there was this one podcast on the long COVID podcast. I can't remember who the interviewer was, or I found. Sorry, there's so many different people I've listened to, but sorry, there's this one person because there has been ME/CFS, which is maternal malaise. I can't remember gist again, but basically it's happened before COVID existed. Some people would have a very severe viral infection and they would just have chronic fatigue, not be able to go to work. Like, it's very similar to like what long COVID is like. And what the stories I've heard from those people is that their nervous system was activated for a long period of time before that happened. And then it was almost like it snapped. And so for me, I was like, yep, that's definitely true. And so I had a lot of stress leading up to the infection. And my nervous system, I never really let it calm down. I was just like, and I didn't really mean to do that. It was more like, oh, I have anxiety. I don't feel comfortable. I'm just going to play sports, exercise. I'm going to do my walk as fast as I possibly, my route as fast as I possibly can. I'm going to just create more. I'm just going to go see people. I'm just going to do. Because since I was in that survival mode with high active energy, instead of calming it down, I was just using that energy just to do things. In 2020, I think it was around April, just like thinking about like all the stress that kind of came out there. I started becoming gluten intolerant, but I didn't know that's what it was. So I thought I had Crohn's or cancer. Everything shut down. I couldn't get the biopsy to see what it had, but they could give me MRIs to look at the cysts that they found on my pancreas. So I didn't know if I had cancer or not. I did stop eating gluten. So I had to completely replace my whole kitchen and clean my house out and replace all of my food by myself when everything was shut down. And so, and that just pushed me to the edge. So by Easter, I couldn't get up in the morning. I was absolutely exhausted. I would do one thing and then go back down and sleep. And there was no COVID test or anything. I was like, oh, I have COVID. So I told work, couldn't go to work because they were trying to protect everybody there, which was nice. And so I ended up getting 3 weeks off to recover from that. And I was like, oh, that was really weird. And it was, I think I was told it was adrenal gland burnout, something like that. And I was like, oh, that was weird. I feel better now, but didn't change my behavior at all after that. Still kept go, do. And so I'm like, no wonder my nervous system was just fizzled out. It was just done. And that's kind of a common story when I hear long COVID stories or people with this. Yeah. They had really high stress for a long time and then they were just done.
And yeah, like something like COVID, that if you've had it and have had it in a strong form, it's like it wipes you out. So just that exacerbating the system, that on top of all of it, it just really, yeah, I can see how that would exacerbate an already stressed system.
Yeah.
It really sounds like this journey that you've been on, and the serendipity of finding Cacao at the time that you did to support you during this transformation is like one of, yeah, really, how do I be kind to myself? How do I really listen to who I am in this moment, and how am I showing up, and does this feel good, instead of just pushing, pushing, pushing? Because I know there's so much, we're so trained in our society and upbringing, at least from my upbringing as well, as like, oh, you're not feeling well, all right, well, get through it. You got to work today, and just push through it, and you got to show up. It's important to show up and push through no matter what. And that space, just giving space to reflection of, wait, is this in alignment with my values? Is this in alignment with what my body actually needs at this time? And in the big picture, is this really that important? Like, do I need to show up in this way? Just push, 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 and allowing that space to come in and that breath to come in. It takes a lot of retraining and reprogramming. And just, I know from my own relationship to meditation as well, that space of retraining the nervous system, to recognizing, like when I started the Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations, recognizing like when I'm sitting, like I have to get beyond my body. Yeah, getting beyond my body and recognizing, wow, my body is really kicking. Like my body really wants to feel these emotions. My body really wants to feel upset or uncomfortable right now. And it's like, okay, no, I have to become greater than my body and allow a new frequency in to program myself to a new state of being. And that takes training, and it's like discipline. And I always think it's like training your puppy. Like you gotta get, or any like, little animal that can be domesticated. But really allowing yourself to, no, sit. Now it's time to sit. Now it's time to really allow myself feel safe in this moment. What does it feel like to feel safe? And then recognizing how unsafe I felt in every moment. And it's like, okay, oh, I'm going up like, anxiety. And then like, okay, all right, that's what that is. All right, you see it now. Breathe, allow more space in, and then allowing that reprogramming to happen, that it happens moment by moment. And this situation, like whatever situation it is, noticing, okay, that's that flighty feeling where I feel like I'm raising up and I'm pulling everything up and contracting. And actually, if I'm feeling into it, I'm like, no, I'm fine. But am I really fine? No. Like feeling into it, I feel super unsafe right now. So, okay, what do I need to do to actively recondition my body, my mind, to recognize this is not a threatening situation. I'm simply in a room having a conversation. That's all that's happening. And then that reconditioning that needs to happen over and over again. So now we can be in the world that is very stimulating, especially for sensitive people, very overstimulating. And how to self-regulate, how to come back to that state of homeostasis where we can be coming from a creative space and an overflowing, expressive, thriving, energetic place, instead of from contraction, fear, and survival, from the hormones of stress just moving through us all the time. And that reprogramming takes time. It takes persistence and dedication and lots of compassion. This journey is not like an overnight thing. It's no, we got to sit down and show up and train ourselves what it feels like to feel safe again, especially as a society that I think there are lots of instances that create trauma, even in a if there are smaller ways too. There are studies that show that it doesn't have to be a big, quote unquote traumatic event that happens for us to incur trauma within our body and store it within our body and within our psyche. So I think that compassion, that recognition that like, okay, yeah, it takes time. You're not going to train your dog in one day. It's an ongoing process, but it's the consistency of showing up every single day in the same way, with the same presence, with the, or, it's not always the same presence, but with presence to what we're working on, and conditioning ourselves to the energy, to the expression that we want to be or are.
Very true. Yeah, that is very beautifully said. And it does take time. And really just being compassionate to yourself in the process. Like, even listening to Pima Chodron or looking at when I tried to meditate before, I was like, I can't have any thoughts right now and I have to be peaceful. That's meditation. And that's not really true. And there's no need to be that hard on yourself at all either, because it's going to come up. And one thing I like with Pima Chodron that she said too is like, oh, when you're activated and feeling unwell, look at that as an opportunity to really practice what you've been trying to do. And so I guess my suggestion for people starting is like, try meditating and observing your thoughts and emotions when you're not activated, when you're actually not feeling too bad or maybe slightly irritated, to get that kind of training, that motion under your belt a bit. So when things really kind of hit the fan, then that practice is already kind of there and underway. And also too, well, this is interesting, this is coming up. If you're trying to meditate and you've gone through something very recent that's very traumatic, or your emotions are really intense, if you try to meditate and calm down, that's exactly what's going to come up for you to face. And if it's too much for you, it's okay not to do that practice. Like, meditation isn't for everyone in every situation either. Like, it can be pretty helpful, but if it's not helping you, then find something else that does.
And it is interesting, right, that what we need to heal comes up to the surface right away. It's very present. And I notice that in my meditations too, when I sit down, and it's like, sometimes I'll sit down and I'm like, all right, yeah, like, I don't feel great, but I'm feeling pretty good. And like, I don't know what's going to come up today. Like, it's fine. It's all good. It's fine. 5 minutes into meditation, I'm like, like crying and bawling. I'm like, I didn't realize this hurt so much. There's so much hurt here. I didn't realize I was carrying this all around. And it's, for me, the recognition of this journey is like seeing that, yeah, giving yourself the space to just listen to yourself, listen to what's here. Just without even judging anything, just allowing all of that fear to come up, allowing the stress to come up, allowing the sadness to come up. Just be like, wow, I didn't even know you were here. I'm sorry I wasn't recognizing you. And then giving yourself the space to feel it and move through it. And of course, if you're dealing with major trauma, seeking a professional that would be able to help you through a difficult time. But if you're dealing with, if you're in a space where you feel like you can show up for yourself and begin to try and settle the mind in a way that to overcome the body, where you can begin to facilitate a new way of being, just know that there's stuff that wants to be heard. It's not always pleasant and easy. And I think for me, in my experience, especially when we're calling in these higher vibrational states, the states of joy, the states of the path of creativity, the frequency of pure unconditional love, everything that's blocking that comes up first. So when I started that, I was like, I want to feel joy. I just want to feel joy and ease, like calling in joy and ease. And then I'd sit there and I'm like, this is not joy and ease. This is the opposite of joy and ease. Like, this is not what I want to feel. But then just allowing myself to see, oh, wait, this is what's keeping me from feeling that. So I would hold it and embrace it and recognize it, soften, love, okay, feeling, it's so icky in my legs and my hips, just allowing that and then breathing through it. And then the transformation that would come, because on the other side of feeling that was pure bliss. It was just this open expansion of like, yes, oh my gosh, that is what joy feels like. But recognizing what comes up first is everything that keeps us from feeling that. And it is not for the the faint of heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so something like you kind of want to do to step in. One practice I've really liked, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I think it's Tonglen. It's from Pima Chodra, and it kind of comes from one of the vows of being a bodhisattva, which is someone who decides to relieve all the suffering from everybody in the world. Which I'm not taking that vow, but I like this practice. So basically, what you do is you're meant to say you can pick anger, sadness, anxiety, whatever you want, but you breathe that feeling in, and you breathe it in from everybody and all this beings in the world. You breathe it into yourself, and then you blow out just relief and calm. So I kind of took that to the point where I just do it for myself. I'll breathe in my own anxiety and I'll bring out calmness. I'll breathe in my anger and I'll breathe out calmness, which at first I was like, this is the opposite of what I feel like I should be doing. I should be breathing in calm and breathing out my anger. But now that I've done it a couple times, breathing in that emotion you're feeling just allows you to feel it. And then breathing out calmness allows you to let it go. And I just found that out like a couple weeks ago. And I was like, this works so well for me at least. So I suggest that for someone else. And I know my intention was to be very joyful and playful today. I did not mean for this to get so heavy and sad, but it's what I've been going through.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting me share my story in that
Absolutely.
way too. And what's bringing this to the creativity again, because it was a couple weeks ago I was like, I need to write this book, I need to get the stuff down, I need to process it. So I've been really reflecting on the process of what I've gone through, writing an outline of things and where things happened. And so it prepared me for this podcast interview without even meaning to have it happen. And that's another thing that's cool about working with Cacao and deepening your intuition and your creativity is you'll start creating something and working on something, and it completely unfolds in a way you did not expect, that you could not have planned. And that's where the joyfulness and playfulness comes out of it, I think, as well.
Mm. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Um, yeah, the preparation for the path. And sometimes we can't see the whole picture and we don't see the whole. My brain is just not producing coherent words and sentences that want to form. Yeah, sometimes we don't get the full picture of where we're going, but we just get the first step ahead of us, and then we get to see at the end. Like that's almost, I think, in my experience too, like the ultimate gift is like, whoa, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Like I did all these steps. I wasn't even thinking about it, but now I see like that's why, because it orchestrates this beautiful co-creation at that time. And I really love, okay, so talk about weaving and synchronicities. My daughter and I are reading like all of the Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson, Greek gods, um, Roman gods, mythology books that he wrote. And right now we're up to the series about Apollo. And Apollo was cast down from Olympus and has been created mortal, which actually happens in the original myths at least twice. So this is like the third time that Apollo has been created, turned into a mortal. And the chapter we just read last night was um, Apollo is in the cave of Trophonius. If there are any spoilers, please. It's just like I don't think it is such a big spoiler, but he's in the cave and it's the dark prophecy, the dark oracle is there. And part of receiving the dark oracle is you have to drink from the river of forgetfulness and the river of remembrance. You have to drink them simultaneously to be able to prepare yourself to receive the oracle from the dark oracle. As he enters the cave, he kind of just loses his sense of self. He remembers some things, but forgets other things. And his relationship to the challenges that he's facing is just like, oh, look at all these snakes. Like, this is hilarious. You know, it's just a kind of very playful, disassociated. And his companion that he's with is like, you need to be careful. Like, she's still with it because she didn't drink from the rivers. And finally, the dark oracle appears, Trophonius appears, and then gives the prophecy to the girl who hasn't actually prepared herself. She didn't drink from the rivers. So her mind, her body, her state isn't prepared to receive the heaviness, the darkness that is there. And she can't handle it. And then Apollo, in this state of wanting to save his friend, decides to suck the prophecy out of her. So he, like, mouth to mouth, begins breathing the energy and the darkness out of her and holding his breath and allowing himself to share the burden with her. And then the description of the oracle is like removing, like they get sent to this place. It's almost like the void where everything exists simultaneously, where all possibility exists. And then it's also this inner battle to stay conscious within the space in order to receive the message, and then holding the darkness inside of you so that you can receive that medicine enough so that you can come back and then allow yourself to express that in the light. And I think it's really, really interesting and powerful metaphor for these journeys that we go on in our daily life, especially when we're sitting in meditation, breathing the darkness out of our life, allowing ourselves to hold it, like you were saying, like breathing it out of breathing the suffering out of every single person, everything that's within us, holding it so that we can share it. Now we become interconnected. Now we become one of the whole. Now my suffering is not separate from your suffering. Your suffering isn't separate from mine. And as we hold this within us, like the same way that Apollo holds that breath of the dark prophecy within himself to be able to bend to the edges of sanity, and then with consciousness, with lucidity, now transforming and alchemizing, and then breathing out the distillation of what the true prophecy is. And then in the metaphor, the way I created it in my brain, the metaphor is love, like breathing out the truth in that state into this reality and allowing ourselves to become the alchemist in presence, the one of the oracle, connected to all things within the truth of our own being.
That's really mind-blowing, and you are such a good storyteller.
Oh, thank you.
I have to reflect on that, but yeah, that's just is really perfect, and it almost like sums up our conversation within a story. And that's one thing I've really fallen in love with the past couple years is just stories and how they can really reflect life and have metaphors for different things that we're actually going through. Yeah, I love the idea of like drinking from forgetfulness and remembrance at the same time. It's like forget all the deconditioning but remember everything that you do need to know. But like there's like a having both at the same time almost causes like this detachment to everything that you've been through in a way, so that you are clear and open to receive whatever comes at you in that liminal space.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never heard that Greek mythology one. That's a good one.
Yeah, they're fun. I think, it's kind of like, I would definitely recommend it. I am an adult, but I like the magical, mythical stories. And if you like Harry Potter, I think you'd like this. But his Rick Riordan's tone is a little bit more playful. Like there are really, really dark things that happen in it, but I feel like Harry Potter gets really dark. Like
it does.
It gets really, really heavy, really scary dark. And the Rick Riordan ones, it gets dark, but he has this very playful way about it. And his joking and banter and the characters, I think, are just really endearing and very fun. And he does a really beautiful job of illustrating what the old mythology was and bringing it into a modern context, and then educating you about what the old mythology was and giving you more relationship and understanding of. It's just giving the old stories a new life so that we can relate and move through our own journeys, and the healing of those myths within a relatable context. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, man. I definitely want to read that. That'd be awesome. Yeah, and I love myths for that reason, because I know they're part of like cosmologies and like religions and stuff, depending what myths you're looking at, but they're really stories about how to deal with life and things that kind of happen to you in life, and they can be very powerful in that way. I just recently listened to Watership Down, and I loved that movie when I was a kid. I've read the book before. It's been a while, so I've revisited it. And like with the book, all the rabbits have their own like cosmology and all their different myths that they tell stories to. And depending what's happening in the book, they'll tell a certain myth, and then they'll use lessons from that myth to solve the problems they're facing with their warren or the other rabbits and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. I never really picked that together when I was younger. I was like, yeah, it's interesting. Like humans definitely do that too.
Yeah, definitely. The power of story to kind of guide us forward, right? Joseph Campbell talks all about the power of myth and the importance of rites of passage and the importance of mythology in order to really grow as a being, as your own identity, to be able to contribute to the collective in your own society. And yeah, good stories can really transform transform your life,
Yeah, they
inspire, and
can.
yeah. And it's interesting because I had a really intense dream last night, and I do a lot of work with lucid dreaming and dream analysis and that kind of stuff. And I really am an advocate like for lucid nightmares. And because the work I studied with Charlie Morley, I did some of his courses, read a lot of his books, and he's always like, if you have a nightmare, yeah, hug it. Like if something scares you within the dream space, become lucid and hug it. And I had like a quasi nightmare last night. And I'm like, oh man, that was such a healing opportunity. Like, I wish I could have really become lucid within it, because I'm like, that part that I didn't want to go to, there was like all this terror around this space. And I was like, don't go there, don't go there. Otherwise, you're going to get sucked in. And I'm like, now in my waking state, I have to do a dream reentry, because I'm like, wow, when we wake up within our dream, in the dream state, then we become the true heroes and heroines of our own life, of our own consciousness. Because now it's not Percy Jackson's story that I'm reading or Apollo's story that I'm reading. I'm waking up within the dream, and now I'm facing the initiations of entering these caves of terror, and seeing what is this subconscious block that is actually relevant in my life. What is my subconscious actually showing me? And I think remembering how to dream is also so important to that. And it's lucid dreaming, but it's also lucid living. It's both, because when we start living lucidly, when we start to become conscious and aware of how we're expressing in our day-to-day life, how awake are we, or how asleep are we to our reality? When we start to wake up within our reality is when we start to wake up within our dream space. And then we have so much more dimension with which we can play, because it's the whole dream world. Everything's possible there. And then on the flip side, once we wake up within the dream, the empowerment and the positivity and the healing and the possibility that we experience within the dream space begins to flow into our waking state as well. And it becomes this beautiful cycle and loop of lucidity. So fun. That's my commercial for dreaming and lucid dreaming. Everybody should lucid dream.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I haven't quite gotten it down, but when I do remember my dreams, like it's just such a powerful thing to actually work with. And I find for me, it's just like they're meant for me to interpret, not anybody else. So really kind of sitting with that. But yeah, it's really when you pay attention to them and you really think about like what they mean to you, it really does help in your waking life. I don't think I can explain it though better than you had, but I can give an example. Like I had a really bad nightmare about a week ago, and I was basically in a prison that I could walk away from, but I felt like I couldn't. Like I was like emotionally and energetically trapped inside there. And I was very distressed. I couldn't get out. And then one of the guards was this person like, no, you just have to do this and this and this. Just be a bit patient. The people that run the place, they'll talk to you in a while. Like, don't worry about it. And then Basically, like, the door's right there, and I'll tell you how to walk out of it. The door's like completely wide open. Like, you could just walk out of it, but I feel like I couldn't. And I woke up and I was so distressed because I just felt so entrapped. I didn't know what to do and just so helpless and powerless. And lying there and thinking about it, I realized the prison guard was actually my physiotherapist. So the way I interpret it now is just like, oh, he's the guy that's helping me get out of like this prison that I've been in my mind to kind of go through. And I was like, oh, it's not that scary of a dream anymore. It was actually really just like, hey, pay attention to this. It's fine. But actually, that day I was so upset. I was like, I'm making a dream catcher. I'm done with having nightmares. And now I'm just like, well, maybe I shouldn't make one and put it up there. Or just put the ones like the ones that make sense. Like the intent, like maybe have a different intention with that, whether you believe in dream catchers or not. I also just wanted to do some type of craft that would be fun. Not really worry about what it actually did.
I love that. I love when we like actually decipher our dreams and then we see the relevance that it plays in our life. And it's like, yes, oh my gosh, I am keeping myself prisoner in my own mind. And this is somebody who has the key who can help me recognize that and the beauty of the medicine that we carry, because our dreams are curated for our being. Nobody else is dreaming our dreams for us. It's the medicine that our mind makes up. And I also always loved the realization that I had, like when I was holding this cup of cacao years and years ago, and recognizing, wait, Mother Earth made this cup for me. Like nobody else is drinking my cup of cacao right now. Nobody else is eating the food that I'm eating. The earth grew this for my body. And thinking about it in this, connected way, if we allow ourselves to believe in something greater than us and the love that comes with that, of somewhere on the earth there is a plant growing and it knows that it's growing for you to nourish your body. And then when we sit down to eat that food, the gratitude that comes with that meal that we're eating, the water that we're drinking, the cacao that we're drinking, the tea, whatever it is, of like, wow, okay, this is for me. I feel pretty special. And letting that nourish us, letting that begin to nourish your spirit and just receiving instead of that rejection of like, oh no, well, it was created on a farm. There are lots of other people that got from this. We can talk ourselves out of whatever we want to, but can we talk ourselves into love? Can we talk ourselves into worthiness? And can we talk ourselves into feeling special and loved and magical? That's the real hard stuff.
Yes.
Sometimes it's easy. Once we get the momentum going, it's easy.
Yeah, it's kind of, and like it becomes so playful too, and all of a sudden, like whatever meal you're eating, it could be like a boring meal that you didn't really care about, suddenly becomes like this magical thing just from shifting your perspective of how you're looking at something. And like I guess training that perspective might take time, but once you kind of do it, you're like, oh, this is actually not bad. And this is actually really cool and actually really great.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, just loving the simple things.
Yeah. Bringing that presence back to here. Can send our tendrils out into all these different thoughts and possibilities and ideas that are happening. But the biggest change we can create is bringing our focus right back into this moment. Who am I with? Am I fully with them? Am I really producing or being the best that I can be in this moment? Am I giving my fullest? Because when we give our fullest, then we're creating more space around us. We're creating more possibility. And now we can help more people. We can actually create more of a ripple and then maybe cause an effect on the greater issues that are really on our heart, globally. And okay. So one of my favorite questions to ask people these days is, what is your favorite thing about being human?
That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that before. Why is this so hard to answer? I think it's just finding new things and new ways to kind of have fun, finding new Let me try to rephrase this. My favorite thing about being human is being around and with really awesome humans, other people that are joyful and playful, that you can have a really good conversation with, or just sit and hang out and not have a conversation at all. It's just a connection. It's probably my favorite thing.
Love good connection. It's the best. Mm. And I'm curious if you were to share anything about cacao or your favorite thing about cacao, or what would you want people to know about cacao?
Uh, that is amazing. It was very life changing for me. Also, know really listen to intuition. It's not for everybody as well. But I think with cacao, oh, that's hard to say just one thing. But a lot of it is connection. I'll say connection again, but connection to yourself, your own intuition, and also connection with other people. I know you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, you really like to see my growth and my progress. I'm on this side, so I haven't really seen that. But other people in the circle, I've seen that growth as well. And I think that's the most magical thing about cacao and these circles is really watching people connect to their own intuition and creativity and choose to step into the life that they want to create. And then you watch them actually do it, and it unfolds in ways that none of us could have actually thought of. Like, it's just absolutely amazing. And it's so fun and just wonderful to see people do that. And I've met so many people through cacao and seen a lot of different points of view and walks of life that I probably wouldn't have connected with otherwise, just because the opportunity just wouldn't have been there. So that would be that's what I would like people to know about cacao. Like, it can really create a lot of connection with yourself and with others in ways you can't even imagine.
Oh, so beautiful. I'm sure that will inspire a lot of people to deepen with cacao.
Yeah, well, definitely just like if you're curious, there's lots of different videos on YouTube. I guess be careful what you watch, but there's a lot of nicer companies out there now. There's a lot of information about it to see if you want to take that extra step or not, and just really feel into what you're feeling, or you can always try it. And if it sits well with you, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's okay too.
Mm. As a part of our tradition on this podcast is the previous guest leaves a blessing for the current guest. So I would love to share the blessing that was intuited and felt for you. So I just ask you to open up and receive.
The song wants to come through. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. May you be a sanctuary for all those needing your beautiful magic and medicine. May you open up your heart even wider to allow the miracles and blessings to flow into you and out to those who you serve. Thank you for your presence here. You are safe to be seen, and you are so cherished. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Blessed One.
Beaming all that good stuff your way.
That was really powerful. That lady has a wonderful voice.
She does.
Yeah. Yeah, singing's a fun way to play with too. Or to play as well. So I'm just kind of receiving that being a sanctuary. Didn't really something I don't think of very often. So it's good food for thought. Yeah, I just feel so calm and like relaxed right now. For the blessing for the next person, just have fun and be playful and just take it easy. That's it. There's part of me that wants to do a really nice elaborate song too, but that's it. Just have a good time and be playful and just don't worry about taking things so seriously.
I look forward to passing that joyful and light message on to our next guest. And I want to thank you so much for your time here today, for sharing your story and the heaviness that came with it, and also your lightness and your playfulness and your creativity. It was beautiful to connect here with you today. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Well, yes, thank you very much too. This was really liberating, and in a weird way, like when I was listening to the long COVID podcast, I was like, oh, I want to be on this podcast and have like my story told. And I was like, oh, it's on this one. I was like, okay, this works too. And yeah, thanks for really listening to all the heaviness and the lightness. And yeah, I know this happens in circles a lot. Like I have this thought and it stops and pauses, but it does feel like transmission complete. But I feel like I just want to keep saying more and more because I had a really good time. I really enjoyed this. So thank you very much. And this was very almost healing for me in a way too, because I will talk about my story a lot, but not completely in completion and not in a way that other people will say. And I'm surprised my stutter didn't get like crazy that I had to stop. I'm surprised my brain could process this information for so long. And for other people still listening, is little things like that that just show that you are on the way to recovery, that you are on the way on your path or whatever you're doing. And just to be grateful for like the really tiny things. Like for the fun food on your plate, for the fun conversations that you've had. And thank you. I'll take this fun away from me and I'm going to have a great day today.
Yes. I love it. Oh, what a beautiful space to end on, that beautiful note of joy. Yes, I will be taking this joy in my heart and in my body too. And again, bowing to you, thanking you, Shaunda, for your time, for your presence, for your wisdom, and allowing ourselves to integrate, taking a few moments to close space in a good way together as we give thanks to the heart of Mama Cacao. If you feel called to place hands on your heart, hands on your belly, palms up on your lap, whatever feels good to you, as we integrate the joy into our body. Part of the healing journey as we move through, there is this agitation that occurs, the heating up, the intensity, and the healing. And then part of it is the integration. So once we agitate the energy, we need to take the time to consciously integrate. And whatever way your own inner knowing, that gnosis that lives within you, if you trust your higher self or a source or whatever you want to call it, trusting that you intuitively know how to integrate and allowing and directing your energy to open up to integrate joy, to integrate deep listening, to integrate the wisdom that your soul and mind and body and spirit needed from this call. And may it blossom within your life. May it grow within your life with ease and joy, simplicity and grace. And from a space of deep connection, of deep reverence, we give thanks to the heart of the earth. We give thanks to the heart of the sky. We give thanks to the heart of the waters, and we give thanks to the heart of the fire. We give thanks to the connection of all things, of all that is, all that ever was, and all that ever will be. And we give thanks to the heart of the void, of the deep nothing, the mystery of life. We give thanks to our guardians and protectors, the energies that came and moved through us today, that worked with us, all of the ideas that were here, that were present, all of the inspirations, the creativities. And we give thanks to the energy of bats and all of its manifestations, and the guardians and protectors of the Mayan cosmology, those who really understand the beauty and the energies of these sacred 20 energies that hold this torch of wisdom with gentleness and love, blessing their knowing, blessing their wisdom, blessing their transmissions, and blessing their hearts. And we give thanks, of course, to the heart of Mama Cacao, this beautiful spirit, all of the lands on which she grows, all of the people that work with her, blessing their hearts, their families, blessing the waters that grace the earth for the cacao, blessing all of the connection, all of the chocolate, all over the world. And so it is, knowing that it is done, it is done, it is done. In this moment, everything is done. We simply have to be, knowing that it is fun, it is fun, it is fun. Aho.